What the From bad to worse. I can't even tell where water is seeping out this time. What's up everyone? HanDIYman 007 here, and today I'm going to show you how to fix a leaking water valve that's been haunting me for years. And probably it's been happening to you too. So this time around, we're not just going to repair it, we're going to upgrade it. Let's go! The first question we always have to ask ourselves before even starting a repair job is it worth the time and money to fix it? One way to find out. Come here. When you see your water meter flow indicator spinning 6 to 7 times a minute when otherwise it should not be moving at all, that is something to think about. Also, aside from this leaky valve, I noticed that connected to it from the main line is an old iron pipe that's showing signs of rust. I don't think this has ever been replaced since the house was built decades ago. And it ends here, which is strange because everything else before it are already PVC pipes. The iron elbow joint, however, doesn't look that bad, so I might just leave it. This bad boy here, definitely we have to replace. For one thing, it relies on a compression stem. That's the squeeze you feel when closing the valve. So there's that risk of wearing out the valve gate when over-tightened. The valve handle and stem are also susceptible to rust. There's supposed to be a screw here that mounts the handle to the stem. It just disintegrated. For this leak, I suspect that it's actually a loose or worn out packing nut. A packing nut is that nut below the handle, compressing the space around the stem, which is supposed to create a waterproof seal. Oftentimes, it gets so worn out, it can no longer handle the water pressure. This is why water is spurting upwards when I jiggle the handle, which is connected to the stem, which is connected to the packing nut. You get it. The point is, it will cost me more time and effort rebuilding this old valve than just replacing it with a new one. Later, I'll show you what upgrade we're going to replace it with. Trust me, you'll love it. Meantime, let's remove this table and the rest of the clutter with an infinity snap. Alright! Now we have a better view of not only the shutoff valve, but also of the entire length of the iron pipe. And we created a bigger and safer work area. Let's move on to clearing more space around the pipe ends since we need all the wiggle room we can get when we use our tools later. And don't just look down, look up and check for other safety hazards, like this window over here. Knowing how clumsy I could be sometimes, I'm almost certain I will hit my head against it at some point, but I don't want to find out. And with that out of the way, let's look at the materials we'll need. Starting with a 1/2 inch PVC pipe that's 10 feet long, which is about the length we need to replace the old iron pipe. Even if it says 20 millimeters on the label, this pipe in reality has a 1/2 inch diameter. To be safe, just ask for a 1/2 inch pipe from your hardware store. They know more about this stuff. One end of the pipe will look like this, but the other end may have a larger opening. So in case you need to connect 2 or more pipes, this wider opening can cover the 1/2 inch end of the next pipe. Just join them together with PVC cement. But we will have to cut this off later. We don't actually need it because we will connect both ends of this pipe to 1/2 inch PVC male adapters. One side has a slip type opening where we will slide in our 1/2 inch PVC pipe, while the other side is threaded where we will screw it in to either the metal elbow joint or our replacement shutoff valve. And since we are connecting PVC pipes, we need PVC pipe cement. I prefer the fast drying type. We'll also need PTFE thread seal tape, aka Teflon tape, a sheet of sandpaper, 120 grit, and finally, what we will replace our leaking water valve with, a brand new 1/2 inch ball valve. It says on the lever handle 1/2 600 WOG. It simply means it has a 1/2 inch opening strong enough to withstand up to 600 psi and can be used for water, oil, or gas. In our case, a water shutoff valve. A ball valve is a form of quarter-turn valve which uses a hollow, perforated, and pivoting ball to control flow through it. The floating ball inside is usually chrome-plated for durability. The handle is aligned with the flow when open and is perpendicular to it when closed, making for easy visual confirmation of the valve status. It will only allow you to turn it a quarter of a circle to either open or close, so it has zero risk of overturning, unlike with compression stem valves. This one also has a lockable handle, which is a great feature, especially if you have kids at the age when they just love to push and pull stuff with no reason. And to be honest, this last feature has gotten me the most excited. So that makes up our list of all the materials. If you need suggestions where you can get these, be sure to check out the resources section in the description below. What I like to do is dry fit or lay out our parts to get a preview of how everything will come together. PVC male adapter connects to the left iron elbow joint. PVC pipe connects to the adapter. Again, we need to cut off this wider lip later. Then moving on to the other end, we connect our second adapter, which connects to our ball valve, which we will replace this leaking valve with. So yeah, now we can think about the tools we need. Starting off with a pipe wrench, perfect for turning threaded pipe and pipe fittings for tightening or loosening. A standard wrench, also known as a spanner, which we need to counter our pipe wrench with, among other things. A vice grip or locking pliers for that extra clamping power, especially when we're dealing with stubborn pipes and fittings. A hacksaw, perfect for cutting metal or PVC pipes. Our trusty tape measure, obviously. A hammer, in case we need to loosen some fittings. And a sledgehammer. Wait, what? A sledgehammer? Really? Well, watch till the end of this video and find out why I needed this. Also, please don't forget to check out the resources section in the description below if you need suggestions where to get these tools. Alright, one last thing we need to do before we jump into it. Turn off our main water valve outside, unless we want water spewing everywhere when we disconnect the pipes. That's no fun. And do make sure the water flow indicator isn't moving at all. Now let's put on some safety gear and grab the hacksaw. Ready? Here we go. We need to cut the iron pipe first. This will allow us to loosen it later from the left iron elbow joint and remove the old valve independently. Cut as close as possible to the pipe end, but not too close for the hacksaw to bump against the valve handle. And hold the pipe firmly with your other hand to minimize vibration and pipe movement. While I did my best to clear the area, I still struggled a bit because the pipeline was close to a wall, which got in the way of the hacksaw and restricted me from taking a wider swing in action. After cutting deep enough, water will start to seep out. This is expected since some water will still have remained in the pipelines. Just continue sawing all the way through. And look at the rust inside this metal pipe. Yuck! With the right side of the iron pipe cut, we move on to the left side where it is still connected to this elbow joint. What I like to do when working with old pipes and fittings is to lightly tap them with a hammer to loosen some rust. This will make it easier to turn the pipe later. Now it's time to loosen this pipe. Let's set it up. With a pipe wrench, grab the pipe about 2 inches from the end. Adjust the wrench so that it is firmly gripping the pipe with both sides of its serrated jaw. You can slightly push down on the handle to check if the wrench is really secured. Then, we need to hold the elbow joint. Because the lip of this elbow joint is worn out, I need to use a vice grip wrench. Make a few adjustments and lock it in place. With the pipe wrench holding the pipe and the vice grip holding the elbow joint, we can now make the turn. When loosening, the standard direction is counterclockwise. So this means we push the pipe wrench downwards while holding the vice grip in place with a slightly upward resistance. Here goes. Just use gradually increasing force to turn your pipe wrench, Do not use a jerking motion or you might snap the adjoining PVC pipes. A slow buildup of force is key when loosening pipes. And it might not be obvious in the video, but I am doing my best to counter the force with the vice grip, keeping the elbow joint as immovable as I can. Sometimes your tools may lose their grip. Pause and adjust them accordingly so that everything is back tight. Continue turning the pipe wrench until you feel the pipe is loose enough for you to unscrew it by hand the rest of the way. There you go. Let's unlock our vice grip wrench and put it aside. And this is what the joints look like up close. Not a pretty sight, is it? Anyway, now that our old metal pipe is disconnected from both ends, let's move it out of the way so we can focus our attention to our leaking water valve. Okay, let's figure out our approach here. So, we need to disconnect the valve from the elbow joint on its right. This time, we'll use a pipe wrench on the elbow and a standard wrench on the valve. Just like before, we slightly tap the joints with our hammer first to loosen them up. Alright, let's attach our pipe wrench onto the elbow joint and our standard wrench onto the lip of the valve body. And make sure that both tools are firmly grasping those surfaces. And with a continuous and deliberate force, we slowly turn our standard wrench counterclockwise, which from your vantage point is upwards. At the same time, we keep the elbow joint steady with our pipe wrench. And when you feel the water valve is loose enough, unscrew it all the way out with your hand. Perfect! Now, let's remove some of this old Teflon tape from the elbow joint thread. We'll wrap a fresh one around it later. Let's review our connection. Our new ball valve connects to the elbow joint, while a PVC pipe adapter connects to the ball valve. It's easier if we connect our ball valve and adapter first, so let's bring out our Teflon tape and begin wrapping around the threaded end of our adapter. When wrapping Teflon, you would want to go with the direction of the thread. In other words, wrap Teflon clockwise, always. This way, when you screw in the thread, the tail end of the Teflon tape will not snag and unravel because it is spinning with the flow of the thread. Wrap around the thread about 8 to 12 times, but not too many times that the grooves of the thread disappear. Now, screw in by hand the PVC adapter into one end of the ball valve. When screwing in or tightening, the standard direction this time is clockwise. So twist the adapter a few times clockwise until you feel the thread latch securely. Be careful not to insert it at an angle and forcing it. This could ruin the thread. Then, we'll use our vice grip wrench and standard wrench to tighten the adapter into the ball valve all the way. Use a clockwise motion until both parts are flushed together and you can barely see any Teflon sticking out. This ensures that the joint is watertight. Perfect! Look how solid that connection is. Okay, we're back on this iron elbow joint. Let's wrap fresh Teflon around its thread. Again, use a clockwise direction to ensure that the tape won't snag when you thread in the other end of the ball valve. As before, wrap 8 to 12 times, but keep an eye that you don't cover it too much that the thread vanishes and loses its grip. And see how clean that looks. Now, let's mount our ball valve using a clockwise motion. Tighten it by hand as far as you can. If it doesn't screw in smoothly at first, remove and make sure that the valve is aligned squarely with the elbow joint when you reinsert it. Now let's tighten all the way with our tools. Our standard wrench on the valve body lip and using our pipe wrench as an anchor to the elbow joint. Slowly turn the standard wrench clockwise while gripping our pipe wrench as steady as we can. If the tools lose their grip, that's okay. Readjust the tightness or even look for a better mounting angle. This will likely need several turns before the two parts are flushed together. Just make sure that in your last turn, the ball valve handle is at an upright position. Alright, let's remove our two wrenches and take a closer look at our handiwork. Looks good! Let's try closing the valve and the water residue stops. Good! Let's feel for any water leak around the joints and take extra time underneath since this is the point where water would usually collect because of, gravity. But I'm not feeling anything and this joint is officially dry as a bone. We are done there for now, and it's time to move on to the left side where we will connect our second PVC adapter to the iron elbow joint. Like before, let's wrap Teflon tape around the threaded end of the adapter using a clockwise motion. Screw in the adapter by hand clockwise, making sure it's aligned squarely with the elbow joint. With our vice grip, let's anchor the elbow joint in place, and with our standard wrench, let's screw in our adapter all the way in. After a few turns, it will become tighter and tighter until we can barely move our wrench, and that's our signal to stop. Remove our tools and check our work. Yep, that looks like a very solid connection and we can hardly see the Teflon. And everything feels so dry, so no leaks from this joint. And here we are, preparing our final piece of material, our PVC pipe. But let me back up a bit and explain something. Earlier off camera, I measured the gap or distance between the tips of our left and right PVC adapters and got 9 feet and 10 inches. Then I needed to add 2 inches to that to account for the 1-inch slip hole for each of the adapters. So 9 feet and 10 inches plus 2 inches gives us exactly 10 feet, which is perfect because from one end of this PVC pipe to this very spot I'm sawing right now is exactly 10 feet, and which is exactly on the spot where the wider lip of this pipe begins. And as you know by now, we don't need the wider lip. Awesome! Grab the sandpaper and start sanding the edge. I like to use 120 grit sandpaper on PVC, but you can use something even rougher like 100 grit. By sanding the tips and edges, we accomplish two things. One is we get rid of the plastic shavings produced by the sawing earlier, and two, we get rid of imperfections and create an even surface for our PVC pipe cement to adhere better to layer. The stronger and more even the connection means the more watertight our joints become. And we like that. And we're ready to connect this pipe to this adapter, which first we need to ensure is dry. Very dry. So grab a paper towel and wipe it thoroughly inside and out. A dry surface will make our PVC cement bond together the adapter and pipe better. Then we do the same to the pipe end as well. Next is we open our can of PVC pipe cement and give it a little twirl. Grab a piece of cloth and wrap around your forefinger. Dunk it in the can and apply a liberal amount to the pipe end up to 1 inch from the tip. You can also use an old toothbrush as an applicator, but I prefer a piece of cloth. What I like to do is hold the cloth steady and spin the pipe on top of it. This ensures that I get all sides with the cement. Because this is quick drying cement, we should finish in under 10 seconds and promptly slide the pipe into the PVC adapter using a twisting motion. Apply enough force to really sink it in at least 1 inch deep, and you'll know the cement is bonded when you can't twist anymore. Finally, we wipe off any excess cement from the joint, and that is done. And moving on to the other end, it's as simple as repeating the process. Tap the elbow a few times to get rid of any residual water, then use a paper towel to completely dry off the PVC adapter. Then do the same with the PVC pipe end. Finally, apply PVC cement. The only difference is that since the pipe is already connected on the other end, I could no longer use the same technique, and so I had to manually wipe this end with cement while it's hanging loose. Now let's slide this pipe into the slip hole. But since the other end is already glued in place, we can no longer use the full twisting motion here. Instead, use a wiggle motion while pushing inwards. I also had to use my other hand to keep the elbow joint steady. Then count at least 15 seconds for the cement to dry before finally letting go. Okay, now we have 8 more steps to go. Just kidding, we are actually done. Yep, it's official. We have completed upgrading our water shutoff valve and its adjoining pipe. And boy, does it look good. But will it perform as expected? Let's put it through the ultimate test by turning on our main water supply. Then swing our ball valve handle to the on position, lock it in place, and finally do an end-to-end inspection to check for leaks as the pipelines are filled once again with water pressure. No leaks on this end, good. And no leaks on this end too. Yep, still very dry to the touch, awesome. And since this 10-foot pipe is supported by nothing except the 2 PVC adapters on both ends, I decided to pile some rocks underneath it to give it extra support. Nothing fancy since this pipe is located at a discrete part outside the house. Now I'm ready to hit the shower where this pipeline leads to. Oh yeah, this is HanDIYman 007. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to get notified of new videos. Also check out the description below for more details, and use the comment section for feedback and questions. Speaking of questions, what did I use the sledgehammer for? Remember that table we vanished with the infinity snap? Turns out it was heavily rotting and we had no other option but to dismantle and dispose of it for good.